that's smiling to keep from dying. Continued poisoning of the black conscience. Today's show will be a call-in show. That number for you will be 708-414-0849. Again, that's 708-414-0849. Or, if you are so inclined, you can participate with the show, be a part of it all, and leave your comments. I will read them during the broadcast. And with all of that being said, let us begin. Today's show is brought to you by way of a pic, a photo. As a matter of fact, this photo right here went viral and had everyone that came across it in their timelines on Facebook saying, what the hell is all of this? What is this about? In the photo, we all saw what looks like a black man sitting down on the ground, looks like he's handcuffed, smiling as he is surrounded by 4 police officers, which 2 of them looks as if they're smiling as well. And one of them has his hand on the black man's shoulder. And of course, we have the 2 dogs. Obviously, 3 dogs, it looks like, in the photo. They're with the brother on the ground. Now, of course, I had to find out what this was all about. There was just no way I could let this pass. And so I dug up a few articles and decided upon one that spoke on what this was all about. And like everyone else, I just had to know, why was this black man smiling in this photo like this? And why did it look like this was some big game photo? Looked like they captured a beast in the wild or something. But let me go to the article for you guys. This article here is brought to us via the WLBT Digital Network, printed up May 26th and updated on the 27th. This incident, titled "Police Pose with Suspect Following Bank Robbery Arrest," says this happened in Prentiss, Mississippi. As the article reads, authorities say they've arrested a man in connection with a recent bank robbery in Prentiss. Eric Boykin of Gulfport was arrested after police found him in the woods, about 600 yards from the bank he had allegedly held up Tuesday afternoon. Investigator Richard Browning with the Prentiss Police Department says Boykin entered the Hancock Bank armed with a handgun and robbed it. He later fled and was eventually captured in a wooded area following a manhunt that involved several agencies. Agencies that participated included the ATF, the FBI, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, the Mississippi Department of Corrections, the Louisiana State Prison System K-9 team, the Rankin County Sheriff's Department, Columbia Police Department, and others. The Mississippi Emergency Management Agency also pitched in, bringing in a drone to help search for the suspect from the air. Boykin is being charged with armed robbery and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Following the arrest, police officers took a photo surrounding Boykin, who was seen smiling in the photo with several officers and dogs. WLBT has asked multiple agencies for the identity of the officers pictured and whether a department's normal procedure is to take pictures like this at the end of a search operation. At this point, the routine procedure and identities of the officers are unknown. We'll continue asking those questions and make updates available. Now, as of today, I saw no new updates, no more information about this. But just like everybody else, again, we had a lot to say about this photo. We just couldn't believe it. The black man obviously deserved to be arrested and to go to jail. He tried to rob a bank. And I don't think anyone questions that. I think the biggest issue is the fact that these 4 white officers are surrounded by this black man who is smiling. And the smile in itself doesn't look all that genuinely happy to me. He looks a little bit more nervous to me. And the suspicious way in which he smiled was felt across the internet. I was not alone in feeling in this. And so I did come across some of the reactions to this photo from people. Give me a minute. Yeah, here we go. One person had wrote, "This picture has a very unsettling big game vibe. Like, how did it come about? Hey guys, gather around so we can remember this moment. Bring the dogs. I hope I'm wrong." Another commented, "Oh my God, the cops look like they are posing with a lion or a deer they shot. This is effed up." And a third person posted, "And who would be considered the, quote, animal in this big game hunt? And is there a history of dehumanizing and likening black people to animals? If that is the mindset of these officers taking a picture of their trophy, then it is most certainly about race." And it may very well be about race. This country has a history of dehumanizing African Americans, ADOS, and it continues on today. But for me, what this photo said was, it was more of a reminder of the historic experiences of ADOS, and in which films like Birth of a Nation, after emancipation and during Reconstruction, it was filmed, showed at the White House, and leading on up through the state-sponsored Jim Crow era, we see how those remnants of the past have fueled today how most of us are often labeled and characterized as objects or subjects of negative generalizations for the sole purpose of entertaining white audiences. Yes, there is a history of this. And this is always done at the expense of our cultural pride, our social integrity, and our individual self-esteem. And this should not be. This should not be at all. And if we're going to be honest here, many black Americans have experienced this in some way, shape, or form. We all have. And if we take a look back, even growing up, we saw images of how, when we were depicted in movies, sitcoms, especially when we were kids, the black and white movies all the time depicted black males as being shiftless, lazy, low information, low communication, broken English, often bug dancing and appearing very timid. No real depiction of what the average black man at that time actually was like. Now, given the fact that there was Jim Crow, of course, black folks were not allowed to look at white people in their eyes, in their faces. Oftentimes, black folks couldn't even walk on the same side of the street as white people. Of course, we definitely had the separate but equal bathrooms, water fountains, and so on and so forth. But especially when it came to our image, which the rest of America consumed, again, through film, before that through ads, postcards. But those negative stereotypical images of us shucking and jiving for white folks still happens today, but not so obvious. No, today is done much more subtly, and is done at our places of work, where we are educated, and sometimes where we socialize. And to bring up this point, I do have a small article. Give me a second. from a young lady who, if I can remember where it is, here it is. um, this article here. Here we go. This article I came across by entitled "Shucking and Jiving" by Ebony O. McGee, who's an associate professor of education, diversity, and STEM at Vanderbilt University's Peabody College, discusses how black academics were regularly advised by white peers to be quote more entertaining when presenting their research to mostly white colleagues. Now, if this is how many in the white community view black people, sources of amusement, exploiting this further promotes the idea that black people are nothing more than objects to provide entertainment. This same expectation that black people perform for their white colleagues is not solely regulated to academia. In many instances, black people are expected to, and sometimes made to feel, that they have to perform above and beyond their job in order to maintain employment or keep in good graces of their employer. And this is true. What's going on, Curtis Brooks? Hey, bro. Appreciate it. Video and audio looking and sounding good. You know, things like this happen on the workforce as well. I actually, in preparing for the show, I had spoken to a friend of mine who expressed while at a company function, a company party that he attended, and he was the only black American who worked at this company, as a matter of fact. He attended this function, and after being there for, an hour or so, the DJ played, and I can't remember if it was if he said it was the Cupid Shuffle or some type of line dance song, Stanky Leg, one of those. And he told me how to his right were most of his co-workers who were cheering him on and encouraging him to get out on the floor and dance to this song. And to his left, there were huddled up the president of the company and some of the other higher ups. And he ended up going out onto the dance floor, in part thanks to one of his white female coworkers who knew how to do the stanky leg, apparently. And he did not know how to do it as well and ended up following her lead. But, afterwards, he shared with me all the thoughts that were going through his head at that time and the pressure that he felt. Because he said on one hand, he didn't understand and he didn't appreciate why the group of whites, co-workers to his right, were so encouraging for him to get out and dance a little bit. He didn't understand it. Why now? Why is it now that you want me to get out here and do anything? Because he had been there for an hour. Many songs had been played, all of which he was familiar with. But it wasn't until the Cupid Shuffle, the line dancing song comes on, that they asked him to get out and show him how to do it, as if he knew how to do it, which he admitted that he just didn't know as well. He's seen it done. He's been to other parties and he's watched other folks do it, but he wasn't that good at it. And then to his left, the president and some of the other higher ups, he didn't want to appear uncooperative in their eyes. He wanted to appear as if he's a team member. He's one of them. And he explained how embarrassed he was afterwards. And when he looked back on it, he really hated how he felt that he sacrificed some integrity to appease these white folks that he worked with. On one hand, to entertain them, and on the other hand, to stay safe and in good graces and cooperative to those in upper management. And it happens. But what do we do about it, Black America? Do we continue to live in a way that suppresses and oppresses who we are as individuals? Of course, I say no. There's just no way that's going to be done. Now, I do understand. Folks are trying to keep their jobs. Folks are trying to make a living. Folks are trying to advance in all areas that they can so that they can provide for their families. And that's understandable. But it should never come at the price of our integrity. Because imagine, for hundreds of years, we've had to shuck and jive in some way or another to make white Americans feel comfortable. For hundreds of years, can you imagine the psychological effect that would have on a people? Why certain behaviors that we did to accommodate white America, in their being uncomfortable with us, we passed those things down to other generations. Well, it's 2021, and a lot of folks ain't going for that. What you will find is more ADOS creating their own businesses so that they don't have to put up with working for white Americans who they believe do not respect them or being put on the spot. Now, this is not to insist that white Americans are mindful of what they're doing when they ask us to perform. No, I think that culturally they too have had certain behaviors passed down and a certain outlook on us as a people passed down that explains why they would do such a thing. We are raised to believe and instructed by our parents and those that love us that if we want to be equal to any white American, we have to work 10 times as harder. We have to be 10 times as educated. We just have to go the extra mile. This is embedded in our teachings amongst our people. And it fosters, in my opinion, an innate sense of unequalness, of inferiority when we say that. Now, no doubt we should encourage each other to be the best that we can be. But no man is unequal in this country, although socially, that's what's being pushed. That's what's always been pushed. But it is up to us to not participate in that destruction of us as a people. The negative stereotypes today that are being promoted about us makes everyone else of other people of other races feel the same way about us, not trust us, not believe in us, not count on us, not have very much faith in us at all. The images of us as thugs and thoughts that appear in reality television shows, music videos, and some movies. The average black working American knows that's not us. But we have to be aware that our integrity is at stake. Our cultural pride is at stake. Our self-esteem is at stake. I don't know if many of you remember years ago, there was a movie by Robert Townsend, Hollywood Shuffle. And in that movie, he showed how black Americans took on the shucking and jiving they needed to survive. And after the roles that they would play in movies, you would hear them speak in the King's English. A vast contrast from the broken English that they were using in the characters that they were playing in these films. And again, a form of that still goes on today. But we have to fight that. We must maintain a sense of pride about ourselves. We work just like everybody else. We're trying to own our homes, own property, our businesses, and take care of our community, our family, our loved ones, just like anyone else. And what this photo did was really surprise me and make me think that this man possibly was smiling to save his own life. Again, no one is in dispute of him deserving to be arrested and put in jail for the crime he committed. But given the history of law enforcement's relationship with Black America, if those officers asked me to smile, and I'm sure if any of you were in his position, which we wouldn't be robbing banks or running from the police, and so therefore this is hypothetical, but if we were in the same position and one of them officers said, smile for the camera, I'm sure you'd smile too, to keep from dying. That smile to me, ladies and gentlemen, had fear behind it, in my opinion. That smile, ladies and gentlemen, was this man trying to stay alive, in my opinion. Again, there's no more updates about the officers and who participated, but is reminiscent of the slave patrols who would hunt down runaway slaves during that time and bring them back to the plantations. Well, again, taking a photo with a captured suspect is bad taste, poor taste, and it's insulting, very insulting. And quite honestly, these officers should be reprimanded within their departments. Publicly, we have to show our displeasure at this sort of thing as well. And many have. But ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're up against in this country. We have to fight this ill treatment, this dehumanizing that we sometimes experience at the hands of white Americans. That's just what it is. If anyone would like to call in, again, that number for you is 708-414-0849. Again, that's 708-414-0849. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Boykin, sitting there in that photo with those 4 police officers, we don't know what his life was like. We do know that he was a felon already. And so he probably wasn't living the most savory life. But and I would dare say that robbing a bank is clearly an act of desperation. Again, we don't know this man's personal life. But I would dare say, because there have been enough encounters of Black Americans being murdered at the hands of law enforcement for doing nothing compared to robbing a bank, at least. They've met the fate of death. So I can understand why he would be afraid with law enforcement from all different agencies and the canines out there searching for him. Oh yeah, I think I would be obeying whatever order that they had so that I could stay alive. Again, he's deserving of jail. But the posting of this picture, what was that supposed to prove? What was that supposed to do? What message was that supposed to send? Why take that picture? Why take that? We have to fight against this dehumanizing people. We really do. And again, if any of you have any thoughts, comments, concerns about this, please feel free to leave a comment, leave a voicemail. But I definitely wanted to touch base on this particular article on this Memorial Day, which was, by the way, created by African Americans to honor our fallen Black soldiers. So in acknowledgement of this day, I do want to say thank you all for tuning in. And with that, have a good evening. Good night.